God is dead, Nietzsche once claimed. God is dead and we have killed him. Although the literal translation is incorrect, the actual translation is just as terrifying. Nihilism, an idea that can be arrayed on a spectrum, can be compartmentalized into three distinct ideas: axiological, existential, and metaphysical nihilism. I confronted existential nihilism whenever I determined that life was meaningless. In the psych ward, you aren't given many opportunities to occupy your mind, so this premise was up front in what I had to think about. And through that week in the hospital, I determined that nihilism doesn't necessarily exist, and I also determined what the results of nihilism would be if I continued to do so, if I continued to have those thoughts, and what would happen if I were to overcome nihilism. Before I refute existential nihilism, it's important that I define what it is. And it's essentially where there is no point to life. There's no reason, there's no creator, etc. We're just here by mere chance. And this is best articulated by Hans Jonas. The utter contingency of man's existence in the scheme deprives that scheme of any human sense as a possible frame of reference for understanding of himself. And a refutation for existential nihilism is that it's extremely arrogant and it's a process. It doesn't get found by itself. It's not an idea that you just randomly have. It's created. So I would like to present that idea by someone cutting broccoli. If someone cuts broccoli and they cut their finger, a normal person would say, "Oh, I cut my finger. What an accident." And then they would wash their finger and then go on with their day. But a nihilist, I think a depressed person would be like, "Oh, I cut my finger. How stupid could I be to cut my finger when I'm doing such a simple task? If I can't cut broccoli, a very simple task, what else can I not do? I've been allowed all these chances and opportunities in life, and the best I could do was to faultily cut broccoli. I shouldn't I shouldn't exist. This is absurd that I can't even cut broccoli. I must be really stupid." As I said, it's a process. It's that idea is not inherent. You can't just think, "Oh, life is meaningless" by itself. It has to have a reason behind it. And with that being said, existential nihilism is an either or fallacy and also a begging the question fallacy. It is an either or fallacy because the distinction between nihilism and non nihilism is there is either no meaning or there is total meaning in everything that you do and everything around you, everything you experience. And that's a contradiction that I'll be coming back to in just one second. It's a begging the question fallacy because it's basically stating there is no meaning because there is no meaning. And what I mean by that is axiologically or valuing, you are saying that you're putting meaning, you are putting a stamp of this is right whenever you say life is meaningless, which you wouldn't be able to do because inherently just stating that statement would not be possible if you were to think that life is not meaningful. So if existential nihilism doesn't necessarily exist, then what does exist in its place? I think through resentment and inferiority, tyranny is the actual result of that process that I was talking about. Eric Harris, the one of the Columbine shooters, once stated, "I don't give a good god d about what you think is right and what you think is wrong, and what is acceptable and what is not nice. I just don't effing care. Shut up and die." As a matter of fact, Eric Harris also stated that if I could nuke the world, I would. Another resentful person I would like to discuss, his name was Adolf Hitler. On April 30th, 1945, he committed suicide in a bunker by taking a cyanide tablet and then having a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Now, I think this is exactly what he wanted. I don't think it was political. I don't think he wanted to have Nazism be the predominant ideology across the world. I also don't think that he just hated the Jews. I honestly think that he hated being in and of itself. He hated the fact that things exist, and his suicide was a way for him to have his cake and eat it too. He couldn't achieve world domination to destroy itself, so he did the next best thing. He ruined his country and killed himself whenever the time came down to prove himself a hero to his people. As I said before, tyranny is a reaction to futility. It's like an equation. Inferiority plus resentment equals tyranny. I mean, what other type of person wants total world domination besides people that are hurt of the world? I feel as if these people are coming out of their hell whenever they rise to tyranny and they are wanting to be like God. As a matter of fact, Eric Harris, while explaining his rape and murder fantasy in his journal, he states that he wanted to show them who is God. How does one overcome existential nihilism? First, and I know this seems counterintuitive, but first, I feel as if one must accept it. I think that they should accept that life is meaningless for atheists, at least. I feel like, I feel as if you should be accepting that there is no direction, or for theistic individuals, that there is no inherent direction. The direction that you're supposed to go is not clearly in front of you, which can be tragic. Someone can spend their whole life trying to decide what was the right path for them. Another thing that helps people overcome existential nihilism is to realize how lucky they are. According to Bowler, there is a 1 in 10 to the 2,685,000th chance of existence. And according to Kurt, economically, we are in the 1/10 of 1% of the world population economically. After realizing all of this, I feel as if one must actualize those choices. Joseph Campbell once stated, "Life is without meaning. You bring the meaning to it. The meaning of life is whatever you ascribe it to be. Being alive is the meaning." Realize you've been given a choice. And with this choice, and I mean every choice that you have in existence, whether it be filling out your taxes or getting gasoline, you have two choices as I see it. You have a choice between Cain and Abel. You can be Cain and be resentful and not willing to strive to the challenge, and whenever they're submitted to that challenge, just want to go to their room and cry about it and just have that problem still there and not solving it. Or you can be like Abel, who accepted the challenge gladly and he went through this process of dying to himself. He let that part of him that wanted to be selfish die. He let that go, and this new, better person was resurrected in that place. And I feel like that is the process in which these existential nihilists have not had in their life. It hasn't existed in their life. They haven't witnessed it to make that full determination on whether or not life is actually worth living or not. And in saying that, there's a question that you must ask yourself, a very serious question. It's impossible to not make a decision on the matter. The question is, where are you willing to go? Are you willing to keep going up, up, and up? Or are you willing to go further and further and further into your own hell? Thank you very much.